It is 11 o'clock, hour number 2 of Three-Man Front on Jocks. Thanks for tuning us in. Crowd is starting to swell here at Social Taco. Come on by and see us. We'll be here until 2 o'clock on the Taco Terrace. Just head upstairs. They will point you in the right direction. We will be here until 2 o'clock. The head basketball coach of the UAB Blazers will join us in about 15 minutes from now as Andy Kennedy and his 20-win Blazers, they get ready to host the American Athletic Conference Tournament. It gets underway tomorrow night at Legacy Arena as Tulane will take on Memphis. Both of those teams played a really good game on Sunday. Overtime win for Memphis that actually got them in the tournament. There was a scenario, Landrum, where the Memphis Tigers was not going to be eligible for the American Athletic Conference. I'm not sure how many people from Memphis are going to make the trip down I-22 to see this team play because it's been a rough addition for Penny Hardaway this year.
Yeah, it's not working the way that I think a lot of people envision. But is Penny Hardaway, is he a victim now of NIL and the transfer portal era?
I think could make a strong argument for that. Doesn't have maybe quite the allure that it used to at Memphis.
Not only that, I think that his idea of certain players just have not
panned out.
They got the money. It's just like we've seen. You can go and spend a lot of money on a roster. We've seen it in college football and basketball.
But for a Memphis
it doesn't work out.
Basketball team to be that bad and to almost miss the tournament, I got to feel like as much as they love Penny there,
got to think he is.
The FedEx money people and whoever's pumping money into that program, there's a lot of other good coaches that would love to have that job.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of schools in that conference that don't have the resources for their basketball program that he has that are being more successful.
So I heard Conrad mention it earlier, the new bracketology that is out, and Auburn is now out of the tournament, Now, I was just looking at the Alabama portion of the pods in the bracket. Alabama's still getting that favorable nod. The winner between them and Troy would get the winner of BYU and UCF. And the pod right below them would be Miami, Texas, Illinois, and Tennessee State. So that has not changed in regards to who Alabama potentially would play. And I heard Conrad mention the fact that Lenardi said that he believes that Indiana and Auburn will be out come Selection Sunday.
Yeah, it's just when you go through and read his exact phrasing, I guess it's just confusing when you go through how things change overnight and you look at these big major conference tournaments haven't started getting going yet, and I know the Big 12 is getting started today, but when you say all performance and predictive metrics have now been updated through the end of the regular season, so I guess we had to tally the final votes yesterday because that wasn't done on Sunday, and somewhere along the way there was a decimal point that favored Indiana over Auburn. It's just it seems all kind of up in the air.
Neither one of those teams is yuck.
Oh yeah, I mean you're splitting hairs on.
I go back to what Martin Newton told us yesterday. And at some point in time, you can have all the data points that you want to. But if you're a basketball coach and you're a basketball administrator and you're watching the games, just like we talk about during the football season, when we watch football as much as we do, we know good football.
Yeah.
You can see with the eye test if a team is tournament worthy. And I'm seeing more teams on the bubble that aren't worthy, in my opinion, of making the NCAA tournament. I think that's where the problem's going to be come Sunday with this committee because Indiana's definitely doesn't look like a team that needs to be in, and neither does Auburn.
Yeah, and so what's the fallback? Because I'm like you, Pat. I look at this, and there's not an easy, this team. And if we're taking Auburn as where we're starting this conversation – then I would go almost, and this goes, but go to the team that scheduled really hard teams. That's got the better schedule. The team that played maybe 17 quad one games as opposed to the one that played 4 and was 1-3 in those games. And that's what you're getting because you had St. Mary's, and I don't know what their latest net was, and I know that they've got at least one quad win, but they get eliminated last night in their conference tournament. Now they're going to be in, but Santa Clara knocks them out. Could Santa Clara potentially be one of those bid stealers if they knock off Gonzaga?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If they knock off Gonzaga, I think you're spot on with that. And you just look at some of the other teams that are around Auburn. Right? We talked about Auburn. We know how rough their last month and a half, 2 months has been. We talked about Indiana. 3-6 in their last 9 games, some blowout losses to Illinois and Purdue. Then you look at a team like Stanford, who I've started to see maybe getting a little more traction to finally get that bid. They've won 4 games in a row going into the ACC tournament. And that's kind of what we were just talking about, is the people on the committee that are watching this, they're going, do I want the team that's really struggled the last month of the season, or the team that's going to be potentially having won 5 of their last 6 going into the tournament? And maybe that's what gives a team like Stanford that final nod, because they're playing better basketball right now than Auburn and Indiana, even though we all admit, none of these teams are making the most compelling cases to be in the tournament.
1-800-239-WJOX. The text line is open, 205-834-9450. We actually asked a football poll question today at three-man front, and it was very interesting, Conrad, because we asked the question having to deal with the Alabama quarterback situation, because that seems to be the number one topic of discussion amongst Alabama fans, and especially when the video came out Sunday afternoon of both Austin Mack and Keelan Russell throwing some passes, the debate started.
Oh, they looked great, didn't they, Pat? Both of them out there just absolutely electric. I'm kidding. It's a nothing burger from the video perspective.
Smelling natty.
That's absolutely right. But we asked you at the number 3-man front on Twitter, when spring practice ends, who will be QB1 on the Alabama depth chart? 56% of you right now voting Keelan Russell. 44% of you are saying that Austin Mack. And it's important to note with this question that this is asking when spring practice ends, not necessarily week 1 of the upcoming season, but after the A-Day game, who would be number 1 on the depth chart. I would still maintain, I think after spring it would still be Austin Mack, but I do think that there are probably a lot of people on that staff that want it to be Keelan Russell. That is just my opinion when all is said and done and the first snap is taken week 1 against East Carolina.
Yeah, what you want, and he's been in this system for a year, and I know he's uber talented. But what does your gut tell you? I know you're hopeful it's Keelan Russell.
My gut would be Austin Mack.
I think it's going to be Austin Mack starting the season.
This is his 4th year in the system. And there's no moral victories or anything. I know he came into a game where you're losing by 30 points, and it doesn't really matter.
It's nice to be loyal, but you can't reward loyalty if you got a better player.
No, you can't. But, I mean, he showed some things in Indiana. Like, with his legs, his mobility, he looked poised coming in that situation. And I guess there's no pressure on you at that point because you know you're going to lose the game. But I just think the experience there, if you have to pick somebody first off, that he's going to be the first one. Now, I do think in the first game against East Carolina, you're going to see both quarterbacks. I would be surprised if that's not the case.
It'll be interesting to see how the competition ends up between those two guys in regards to the number of snaps, how it breaks down. I agree with you. I understand that he has a better grasp of the system, talking about Mack, but so many people around that program said the future is Keelan Russell.
Well, and a lot of this, guys, is going to be dictated on the offensive line. What is the offensive line doing? Because I'm looking at a guy like Keelan Russell, while he's inexperienced, his mobility, his ability to escape, evade, maybe a little bit better than an Austin Mack. But whatever the case, you're going to have the inexperience that's going to be taking the reins at quarterback. That offensive line has got to be buttoned up tight.
The offensive line has to be buttoned up. The run game has to be significantly better. And I think also a question that may be, because you have those other question marks that we're not talking about as much, is, what are you going to get from that wide receiver room, right? How good can Ryan Coleman Williams be? Can he be what we saw as a freshman, or is last year just kind of who he is? You got Noah Rogers out of the portal. Can he be a difference maker? Latsir Brooks is coming back. Rico Scott's coming back. Derek Meadows. You got a lot of guys that, again, there's a lot of potential there, but we need to see it over the course of an entire season. And what are you going to get out of that position?
I don't think any of us questioned if Ty Simpson was going to have a really good grasp of the offense. Even with the lack of playing time as a starter going into last season, had no doubts that he wasn't going to know that offense backwards and forwards and be one of those coaches on the field. I think that helped and that masked some of the inefficiencies that you had on the offensive line. I'm not as confident this year with that same type of performance from an offensive line, you're going to be able to mask some of those things with the inexperience of quarterback.
I agree with that, and I do wonder if that's something that plays in Austin Mack's favor, right, just because he has been a part of the system. This is his 4th year now with Kalen DeBoer, his 3rd year with Ryan Grubb. is that what pushes him over the edge potentially? Is he just has a better grasp of what they like to do offensively because he's been around it for longer. But time will tell, and it's certainly going to be one of the biggest stories. Obviously here for us, but in all of college football, I would think.
How about our friends at Mandu, right down the street from us right now in downtown Homewood? They got a location here. They got a studio up in Huntsville. They have their newest locations next to the Palma's Italian restaurant in Tuscaloosa. But Paul, right here in Mandu, and the folks, it's electrical muscle stimulation, fitness, all FDA approved. You go in, you sign up for Mandu. Your first visit's free, and they'll put you through the workout. It's a 15-minute workout because of that technology. 15 minutes at Mandu is equivalent to 6 hours in a gym because of that muscle stimulation. It doesn't hurt. You're going to get results. Your first visit's free, and as I mentioned, they're going to put you through the workout. No obligations, no fine print. Just decide if it's right for you. But if you're looking to tone up, maybe lose some weight, just feel better about yourself, you can do it at Mandu, MANDUU.com. Tell Paul and the gang, as always, that Landrum from Jocks sent you.
The head basketball coach of the UAB Blazers, Andy Kennedy, will join the show next. We're live at Social Taco on Jocks. It is 11:14 on Jocks. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you until 2 o'clock. We're so excited because this week in Birmingham, down at Legacy, the American Conference comes back to Birmingham as UAB is the host school as the UAB Blazers get ready. It's nice. Not playing until Friday. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, the head basketball coach of the UAB Blazers, Andy Kennedy, joins us. Coach, must be nice to be able to sleep in your bed for a few days.
Hey guys, yeah, it's good to have the double bye. I'm not as dumb as I look. I do realize winning fewer games to capture the championship is probably the best route. So three is better than five. I do know that, and that's the task in front of us.
AK, so much has been talked about, publicized, you guys going on the road and winning games, the struggles there at home. How much of the psychology of your team, where you're staying the course of this week in preparation, how much of that did you have to maybe dial into or pay attention to as opposed to some other years when you maybe not factoring in some of those things?
Yeah, obviously this will be a road contest for us because we don't even get in the venue. The American is doing the women's championship and the men's championship in conjunction with one another. So us not playing till Friday, the first time we will be in the building, the first time many of my kids have ever been inside Legacy will be the day that we play. The good thing is we play the first game of a session, so we'll have our normal hour warm-up. But that would be the first time that we shoot the ball in the building.
Oh,
so
wow.
it doesn't get much more road than that, So we're approaching this like, hey, man, this team is pretty amazing. It's been one of the most obscure years of my career, and that's saying something, having been a head coach now 19 seasons. But this group is I'm proud that they continue to persevere. I'm proud of the fact that we've won 10 in a row on the road. We've got 10 true road wins, which is tied for the most in the history of this program. We've got 12 road neutral wins, and if we can win Friday, getting us to number 13 will be the most in the history of this program. Obviously disappointed that we didn't uphold the standard of protecting home court. But at the end of the day, all we can do is try to take advantage of being the 4 seed. Again, thankfully, not in Bartow. And hopefully we can stay around in Legacy a little while.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about one of your players. I was listening after the game the other night, and you were talking about Chance Westry and how he very well may be the most talented player you've ever coached. I just wanted to your thoughts on him and how important he has been to this team and how important he's going to be for you coming up in this conference tournament this week.
Yeah, I made the comment again. I'm not saying I'm number one on the list, but I do think I would be in the top 5 of people that understand the history of UAB basketball. And I made the comment in context to it. 6'6". I don't know if UAB has ever had a more talented facilitator with his size, his vision, his ability to deliver the ball in traffic. He's the best that I've ever coached in that regard with his size. And I think he's the best in the history of this program. His trajectory, what he's been able to do in year one, although completely different as it relates to origin, is very similar to what Yaxel Lindeborg did in his first year for us. Kind of, he was a junior college kid in Yax. Here's Chance, even though it's his 4th year in college, has not played much basketball. There's a lot of unknowns out there, and he really had to grow in his role and in his confidence as this season developed, and he's playing his best basketball as we close the regular season. He was honored today with being, second team all-league. He's on the all-newcomer team, and he's positioned himself, if he could have a magical run like Yax did when we were in our first year in the AAC, where we were able to capture the championship in 2024, and Yax was handed that MBB trophy. I assure you of this, if we were able to cut down those nets on Sunday in Legacy, that MVP trophy would most likely have to go to Chance because he's so pivotal in us having long-term success.
Andy Kennedy, the head basketball coach at UAB, joins us for a few more minutes here on Jocks and 3-Man Front. Coach, being on the broadcast with DC, I get to hear you in the post-game show. Needless to say, there's been a lot of peaks, a lot of valleys in regards to this basketball team, and some frustrations, obviously, trying to understand the DNA of your basketball team. But there's no doubt that here the last couple of weeks, you got to feel really good heading into the tournament in regards to just the fortitude of this team, especially down the stretch, being able to win some big games.
Pat, that's a good term, fortitude, man. I think, there's real value in perseverance, and this team has walked that out. It's easy to talk about. It's hard to live, sometimes. But I I'm really proud of this group. We've dealt with a bunch of injuries too. That's not brought up much as it relates to the course of our season. We lost Das Chagas at 6'10" before we even started this journey. It's made us really, really small up front, even though our front court of Daniel Rivera, Kyron Lindsay, and Evan Chapman have done a tremendous job all season. But we lost size at 6'10" that we were really counting on giving us a presence at the basket. So he's out really for the majority of the season, or really all season. He got hurt before we even got into this. And then we lost Jacob Meyer and Kyron Lindsay, two of our 3 or 4 most productive players for big stretches of the season with various injuries. And then we lose Ahmad Robinson, who was our starting point guard. He has now been cleared to participate in the conference tournament, but he hasn't been with us for the last 3 weeks. So for our group to have to reinvent itself multiple times, one of which is when we moved Chance Westry to the point, and he's really flourished in that role, but it was really based on necessity of injuries and adversities that this team has had to overcome.
Andy Kennedy, head men's basketball coach UAB, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline with the tournament format. And this is old hat for you, but as far as your preparation, you and your staff and your team this week, how much is focused on UAB, and then how much is focused on whoever the opponent's going to be, one of which you've already played?
Yeah, we've played all 3 of our of who it could be. It's all about us right now. We're trying to work through some things. We're trying to make sure that we're still sharp, excited about March Madness is upon us, and this is an opportunity for these kids to experience something that they envisioned when they came to UAB. So right now it's all about us. We won't know who we're playing. We play at noon on Friday, and we won't know who we're playing till probably 9:30, 10 o'clock on Thursday night. We play Memphis and Tulane started out Wednesday night. Winner of that plays Charlotte, and the winner of that plays us. We have played Charlotte recently. We played Tulane and Memphis twice each, so obviously we're familiar with all opponents.
Coach, you understand that, going into this tournament, right, you have to go and win the whole thing in order to make it to the NCAA tournament. I wanted to ask you, first off, the pressure that comes with that, right, knowing it's a must-win situation every time that you're going to be able to step on the court, but also from your past experiences, is that something that almost you think can help a team if you are to win and make it into the NCAA tournament, where you've already been kind of in that pressure cooker for the week leading up to the tournament, as opposed to some teams that, it doesn't really matter what they do in their conference tournament because they already know they're going to get in that large bid? Does that pressure almost help you if you are able to make it into the big dance next week?
Well, I think it is what it is now in mid-major basketball. When you're at the level that we are now, everything is really, really tilted towards the net, which obviously favors the Power 4 schools because of opportunities to garner Quad 1 and Quad 2 wins. We just don't have those opportunities, and we would never be the way that we have played to this season. I'm certainly not on my soapbox saying that we deserve an at-large. That's not the case. However, everybody now, you understand what's at stake. We've been fortunate enough. I experienced. I've been a part of 6 championship tournament teams. 1 as a player, 2 as an assistant, and 3 as a head coach. 2 in the last 4 years, 22 in CUSA and 24 in the American Conference. And I think winning the regular season is obviously more arduous because you have to do it over a 2.5-month period. You have to maintain this level of consistency. But there's nothing like the instant gratification if you're fortunate enough to come out victorious on Sunday, of the confetti falling, walking up the ladder to cut down those nets. There's nothing better than that, and we're going to try to make sure our kids are excited about the opportunities that this tournament presents.
Coach, I want to ask you something off the court, but it's in the building in which you play, and it's an exciting time because Bartow Arena is going to get a facelift. You're going to have a new club level. You've got sponsors coming in. And I know you're very excited about this because it's a wonderful building, but it needed to be updated. It needed to be upgraded, and especially now to try to find themselves to a better student section and things of that nature. Kind of touch on that and how important that was that Bartow got the funds and got the approval for that to happen moving forward.
No, I think it's huge. I think it's huge. I'm really excited about it. You know, Bartow Arena was built in 1988. My first game as a UAB Blazer was the first game in that building. That's how far back it goes. We played a legend in C.M. Newton, who was leading the Vanderbilt Commodores in the opening game in there in 1988. And somebody that I'm very familiar with had 26 and leading the Blazers to victory, just for the record.
I remember that. I was there, Coach. Yeah.
Hey, the bones of that structure, I don't know who built it, but I want them building my next house, because the bones of that structure have held up astonishingly well over the course of time. As you know, man, the game has changed. We need to bring a better fan experience for our loyal followers. The amenities of the building. You know, we've got such a rich history. There's not much of a walking down memory lane when you walk into it, and we're trying to bring some of that back because of the rich history of the program. There's not a lot of pictures. There's not a lot of things that you can reflect back on the history of this program from. So there's a number of different things that we're going to do to try to increase the fan experience in Bartow Arena so that, again, we can continue to try to move this program forward.
Coach, I was just marveling, and I went through it, and I knew this stat on you, but I didn't know the exact number. But you getting to the 20-win mark and looking over your coaching career, that now makes you've only had one losing season in 19 seasons, and 16 of those seasons, 20 wins or more. If I'm an aspiring coach, before you tell me don't get into it, it's crazy right now, and I say, what has been your secret to having that success? AK, what has it been?
Well, I say this with all humility. There's really only two things that I would say that are the reasons for me being able to, number one, stay in this space for 19 seasons as a head coach. And as you said, 16 of those seasons have finished with 20 or more wins, and 13 of the 18 prior, hopefully 14 of the 19, ended in the postseason, meaning the NCAA or the NIT, and it's really quite simple. God's grace and hard work, and in that order.
Amen.
Coach, I know this was just announced a couple of minutes ago, and you may not have seen it, but you mentioned him earlier, and I know it's a player that you would love to still have at UAB, but to see Yaxel Lindenborg, he was just named the Big Ten's Player of the Year. I just wanted you to speak a little bit to him and what he meant to the UAB program, and is this something that I imagine doesn't surprise you at all with the great player that he was for you the last couple of years in Birmingham?
No, I love Yaxel. I really appreciate what he did for UAB basketball. One of the favorite kids I've ever coached. To see how he evolved in his time here, his loyalty in coming back in year two. I think he made the right choice. He picked the right school. He's continuing to live his dream. Big Ten Player of the Year, Michigan, one of the odds-on favorites to winning it all. And I think they've got a legitimate national championship contender. Yax, I was a little concerned as everybody. I look at him kind of like, like I'm his uncle, not so much a son, but like he's my nephew. And I was like, man, you played so good. There's some risk reward in going back to college. You're going to be on an NBA team. Is it worth the risk and reward? Obviously, the NIL number made it a little less of a risk because he had some financial security. But I think he did the right thing. He's gone and he's enhanced his draft status. He's experiencing a year like I'm sure he never dreamt of. And so I'm really, really proud of Yak.
Such a delightful young man.
Yeah, just outstanding. That is Coach Andy Kennedy. His Blazers tip off noon Friday. Need a jam-packed Legacy Arena. Coach, always appreciate your time. Look forward to catching up with you later this week.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. That's Andy Kennedy. He joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Some of the big takeaways, news from college basketball, and more. Three-Man Front continues live from Social Taco on Jocks.
It is 11:32. Welcome back in. Appreciate Coach Andy Kennedy joining the program. Coming up in just a little while, we'll talk to our own bracketologist, Rocco Miller, get his feelings on Auburn and the latest doings when it comes to the bracket that will be announced Sunday afternoon. You know, your foundation and waterproofing specialist is Deep South Construction Pros. Deep South is a family-owned company with real southern roots. If you're dealing with foundation issues or moisture problems, Deep South Construction Pros, they are the experts. Foundation repair and waterproofing, that's the backbone of what they do, from cracks and wood damage to crawl space moisture and mold. Their trained crews fix the problem at the source. The owners are proud Alabama locals who can still call this place home, and they're committed to serving families across the Tennessee Valley, across Tennessee, and the great state of Alabama. And the Deep South reputation means everything. That's why Deep South Construction Pros puts their name on every job. They treat every home like it's their own. So get started today. DeepSouthConstructionPros.com. That's the website. That's where you need to go. That's DeepSouthConstructionPros.com. Kalen DeBoer is meeting with the media right now, and Kalen DeBoer has just announced that Lyndon Simmons, William Sanders, and Jamarian Latham will be out the entirety of the spring. Bray Hubbard will be limited. So that is some breaking news coming out of Tuscaloosa. Also, a former name in Tuscaloosa, Bill O'Brien. He tells ESPN that he will be the play caller for the Golden Eagles.
Sweet.
This next year.
BC football's back.
For Boston College. So if you didn't see enough, I mean, just think about the talent that he had at his disposal in Tuscaloosa.
He had Jahmyr Gibbs.
All of that talent in Tuscaloosa. And he didn't put up record numbers, and now he's going to call plays for Boston College.
I blame Pete Golding.
That's going to be a
It was Golding's fault.
That's
It's
right.
always Pete Golding's fault.
God, that's going to be a bad product.
Yeah.
That's not going to be great.
Didn't they get somebody notable to transfer to go play quarterback?
They got well, they have Lonergan, right? And who's the former Alabama quarterback? I don't. They probably did go and get another Alabama guy. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Oh no, never mind. He left. Dylan Lonergan. No, did
He's
he
not there?
No, did he transfer? Oh, that was
Conrad, I can't remember anymore.
Lonergan, Holstein. Holstein was at Pitt. Lonergan was at BC.
Transfer portal. I can tell you, Darian Mintz is at Miami. After that, fill in the blanks.
Jackson Arnold's at UNLV. Don't forget about that one.
Yes.
That's an easy one to forget.
South Florida, their offense is at Auburn.
Who is – their quarterback is now Mason McKenzie from Saginaw Valley State.
I do know Hollywood Smothers is at Texas.
That's something to look forward to. Is he?
Yeah. And apparently Cam Coleman is as well.
They, the media there, I've seen a lot of pictures of Cam Coleman. Not a lot of pictures of Arch. I'm seeing a lot of pictures of Cam Coleman from the Texas media now.
Well, Arch is not doing any type of fit. He's just out there for support. I mean, he's going through calisthenics and stuff like that, but he is not throwing. He's not doing anything.
Moral support.
Because of his little surgery he had.
His little surgery. Little Arch.
Little surgery that he had.
So, yeah, oh, yeah. It's amazing. I know I said this off the air to both of y'all yesterday. It's amazing how the Texas media, it's like Cam Coleman has just been discovered. Like nobody else.
He's like this JUCO,
like
diamond
nobody.
in the rough.
I mean, it's like Yaxel Lindeborg. Like all of a sudden, everyone in the Big Ten's like, where did this kid come from? Oh, my goodness. Like Dusty May had no idea playing UAB.
How great of a player
he all
was.
the time, how good Yax was. But, yeah, I mean, now it's
Texas
like.
is so obsessed with themselves, Pat, they don't look at what everybody else
No.
is doing, let's be honest.
Andy, when's the first time Dusty May texted you and said, I think he might work here?
Probably many times.
Yeah, they're buddies, though.
Yeah,
Andy and Dusty.
But just the number of videos,
I
like
know.
17 different angles of Cam Coleman catching a screen pass.
I haven't seen him in a Lamborghini yet. What are they doing? Put him in a Lamborghini. Maybe they're moving away from
No,
it.
he can make the highlight catches, but as we saw, there's still some vulnerabilities in his game.
Is he going to fumble the football when the game's on the line? We don't know.
All right, here's a little bit of news that you can keep your eye on. If you missed the interview with Paul Feinbaum yesterday, Greg Sankey had some very interesting things to say about the future of college sports. Well, Heather Dinich is reporting that Mississippi State President Mark Keenum, and I can tell you, I know this for a fact, Mark Keenum is one of the most influential and most important people in the Southeastern Conference. So when you see anything with Mark Keenum, you better pay very close attention to what he is saying. And he said the following: SEC presidents and chancellors are meeting this week in Nashville with the hopes of starting to establish some real rules and guidance for the league and others, assuming Congress cannot establish federal legislation quickly enough on NIL. They aren't expected to make any monumental decisions, but would like to get a framework started before the SEC holds its annual spring meetings in Destin. They are fed up with the status quo.
I love it from a competitive balance standpoint, though. If the SEC agrees to implement these things, what if the Big Ten doesn't want to play ball?
I would imagine they want the framework so that if everyone does play ball, they're ready to go. But yeah, I'm with you. Are you going to put? You're not going to put restrictions on your own conference.
Well,
to give you a disadvantage.
We've already had the schools like Ohio State because they have the means to do it, and in some cases Michigan, and there's others that have rated the SEC for players, i.e. Caleb Downs, Quinshon Judkins. That's just a couple. But I don't. Money's enough, and the money that they have to offer these kids, and I know the SEC's not going to hamstring themselves, but I think you got to be really, really careful on what you decide to implement. Well, I want restructuring too, and Pat, you want it. Conrad, I think we all want to see it. I don't want to see the SEC dying on a hill.
No, I don't either. I do think it's interesting that the language you get there from the Mississippi State Chancellor is essentially the same thing you heard from Greg Sankey on Feinbaum yesterday, because one of the things he said was, I don't think anyone on any campus wants the status quo to remain. That seems to be that. I guess that is what all of them are getting together and saying, yeah, something's got to change, and I applaud them for wanting to be the leaders of that. But as we saw with the Big Ten and the 9-game conference schedule, right, just because you agree to do what they want to do, that doesn't mean that they're going to ultimately agree on the new college football playoff format, which they had alluded to doing. If SEC bent the knee, they did, and here we are.
The only thing I think the Big Ten would feel pressurized because they hide behind that whole part of the what is it, the AAU,
yeah,
whatever that is, because you will have certain schools, whether it's Northwestern or
Stanford or not Stanford,
Stanford
would
if
they were in the Big Ten.
Some of those schools that would basically say, okay, look, you know what, like we got to put these guardrails up, we got to do this, we cannot let athletics, be the tail that wags the dog, although we all know that monetarily speaking, that's what happens. But I was told yesterday that one of the main reasons I hear there's a lot of talk around the SEC right now. This is something that a lot of people probably did not pay attention to because it's not sexy. It didn't grab a lot of headlines, but it did happen. They had a symposium, a meeting in Dallas, Texas, about a week or so ago, and it was hosted by Smash Capital. Smash Capital is one of these huge hedge funds that have presented over the course of the last couple years a way in which they can monetize a new playoff system. And guess who was there? The president of Louisiana State University.
Oh, shocker.
And the governor of the state of Louisiana fully endorsed the idea of LSU going. Well, when you look around the rest of the SEC, you don't see any other SEC presidents or chancellors that went to that. Kind of against the norm. So basically LSU is there listening to the potential of this Smash Capital and their idea of how obviously they want equity in certain things. And that's the last thing in the world that I think the SEC and the rest of the schools want to see happen. So, in just my personal opinion, that's why I think you heard Greg Sankey go on Paul Feinbaum's show yesterday. I think he was wanting to get ahead of some of this. Mark Keenan speaking to Heather Dennett. This is all a calculated plan in regards to the way the SEC is going to approach this. I also believe that the SEC is tired of waiting around, waiting for the Big Ten or somebody else, and now we're going to start leading from the front again.
And that's where we started in the pandemic. When everybody wanted to shut down football, it was the SEC saying, look, we're going to do what's best for us. We're going to do what's best for our conference, for our fans. Down here, we need football, and we're going to make it. We're going to find a way to make it happen. And they were finding solutions, not listing more problems for everybody to sulk on. And then what did you see? Well, you heard the criticism. from the Stuart Mandells of the world and some of the others. We heard from a back to expansion with the Washington State president, the predatory nature of the SEC. It was pile on the SEC, but what did everybody do? They followed suit. Oh, the SEC is going to play football? And then they start hearing from their fan bases, well, why is the SEC playing? We can't play. Then you had Ohio State players coming out and saying,
Yep.
well, can we be a part of the SEC this year? We want to play football. We should be the flag bearers and leading that charge. And I'm like you, Pat. It's time for the SEC to do it. We tried to play nice, and we saw where that got us with Tony Petitti in the Big Ten. Absolutely nowhere.
And I think Greg Sankey's aware of maybe the public perception that has maybe decreased in some areas about him, and so I applaud him for trying to take the charge on this. Do you look at this as, kind of like almost a warning from Greg Sankey to the other conferences of, hey, if y'all don't want to play ball, we're fine with that. We can go do our own thing, but I think it's in everyone's best interest if we all come together and find a way to work this out together. That's how I took it.
Yeah, it's fascinating that LSU would be one of the only SEC schools that would go to this meeting with all these other schools. It just kind of goes against the grain of what you typically see when it comes to the Southeastern Conference. That very calculated guys kind of march to the beat of the same drum, so to speak. And then you got an outlier, probably because LSU spend probably, over $40 million.
Well, I was about to say they need to recoup the money they spent.
Was this the idea, do you think, of LSU, or this was the governor going to LSU and going, hey, I just got an email. They're having one of these. Are you going to send anybody? We ought to send somebody.
Well, he doesn't want the taxpayers to have to pay more for the football program, since that was his understanding of how that worked.
But it's like you guys brought up. The biggest fear of whatever they discuss, they're laying the groundwork. They're putting together an outline in Nashville, and then when they get to Destin, because we all know you can hear all the coaches, whatever they say, but the real work gets done at the end of the week. I covered the event for over a decade. I've been there. I know exactly what goes on. And at the end of the week, the presidents and chancellors, they make the rules. And they sometimes go against the grain of their coaches. Other times they consult the coaches and the athletic directors. But at the end of the week, they're looking at spreadsheets. They're looking at bottom lines. They're looking at budgets. And so at the end of the day, they're going to try to put together a system in which you might have some guardrails. Because as we've said from the beginning, this is not something that is sustainable. It can't be. And it won't be. And the quicker that they can come up with rules, the better off everybody will be.
No, Destin meeting is going to be great this year. So many things for everybody in those rooms to talk about.
Yep. We will continue on. We are live here at Social Taco. Next hour, we will talk to our local bracketologist, Rocco Miller. He is in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the the epicenter of all tournaments. I think there's like 7 tournaments in the city of Las Vegas.
He was up late last night.
Yeah.
All under one roof.
Guess what time he texted me this morning?
3 a.m.
Ooh, that's a very good guess.
Was he at the craps table?
3:12 a.m. he texted me.
And Pat was awake.
I was awake. I was breaking down the Korea-Japan Pool A action that was about to get started. It was not.
Hey, Pat,
that would not surprise any of us if that was true.
I was asleep. I was asleep. Yeah. Luckily, I was like Molly. I had it on silent. My notifications on silent. So
yeah.
So I did.
I am interested because I think that this is news because one of the buzzsaws just lost the guy that runs their point, Caleb Foster, with a fractured foot, out indefinitely for Duke.
Yeah.
Does that? That's your point guard.
Yeah.
I know Duke's talented, and they got somebody else that can run the point, but I think I give the edge to Florida right now.
Before we go to break, and we've got it on a monitor over here, we're watching the round 1 of the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. You know, if you're going to have a fancy floor like that, could you not pick like a better color?
No, they have to be different, Pat.
The anthracite gray that looks about as boring as all get out.
It's awful.
Like, why don't you just make it the color of a regular basketball court?
Because they are trying really, really hard to be different.
The LED stuff is not as distracting to me yet as I thought it was going to be.
It's boring.
It is boring.
Is James Najee having a good game?
No, it's 13-7 Arizona State over Baylor.
I like the lighter tone court.
What's wrong with the normal basketball court?
It's worked out for like over 100 years.
Seems like they got a pretty good idea about how that works.
Yeah. We will continue on. You're listening to Three-Man Front live on Jocks. It is 11:51. Welcome back into Social Tacos Three-Man Front on this Tuesday. We're happy to be joined now by one of the original folks that came up here when Landrum and I started this program doing a live remote from this location. Cigar Cowboy was one of the first guys that was up here on a weekly basis.
One of the OGs.
Us. Absolutely. Cigar Cowboy called in the other day, and first off, it's great to see you. You look great.
Thank you.
And I know you're recovering from, you had a heart attack a few months back before Christmas. 14th of December. But you look good.
Yeah, you do.
You look very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. When we first met you, you told us a fascinating story. And we've only got a little bit of time, but as quickly as possible, for those that have never heard it before, you did something that I can say, Landrum, and probably you too, I don't know anybody that has ever done what you're about to tell the audience, what you did in a vehicle.
I'm just going to quickly admit, I didn't know you could do it until he told us he did it.
Yep. Go ahead. Tell everybody what happened.
Well, the car that is currently in the parking deck here, I drove from Pelham, Alabama to Esteli, Nicaragua.
How long did that take?
Well, as a result of weather delays, going down, it took 16 days. Now, to stipulate, there were days where I stayed in the same place multiple days as a result of Nicaragua was under a hurricane threat.
Oh, okay.
So I stayed multiple days in Mexico in multiple places. Driving back, it only took 6 days.
So these places in Mexico, I'm just imagining Sandals Resort. You're saying somewhere plush and nice.
Oh, obviously, yeah. No, I stayed in Tampico. I stayed in, I can't remember the other town, but I stayed in a Holiday Inn that was built in the 1400s.
Oh.
So that was very nice. And then Guatemala, El Salvador, stayed a day in each of those. There's a tiny sliver of Honduras, which is only a 2-hour drive. So when I left San Miguel, El Salvador, I did 2 border jumps, one at Honduras and one at Nicaragua.
So many questions and avenues we can go down. One, were you ever concerned about your safety traveling in Central America?
Well, I got popped by the Mexican police for $200. So,
Speeding?
No.
Just a bribe.
Right. So that night I got my laptop out and learned my first real Spanish, which was disabled veteran military policeman retired. And whenever I was at any checkpoint, I would roll the window down and they would want me gone immediately. There was genuine fear in their eyes.
Really?
Oh, absolute fear.
Wow. How was the highway system? Are we talking a bunch of 2-lane roads? Are we talking about the Autobahn in Germany? What are we talking about here?
Going down was bad. Coming back, when I learned how to use Google Maps, and it's a long story, we don't have enough time to explain it, but coming back I used the Mexican toll road system,
Okay.
and that has a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. So I only spent 2 nights in Mexico coming back.
What country's people closest to the people here in the South?
Say that again?
Which country's people are most similar to us here in the South? The warmest, the friendliest?
They're pretty much all the same.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I mean, there's really no difference culture-wise, attitude-wise, once you cross that Texas border all the way down.
Cigar Cowboy, great to see you.
Cigar Cowboy, thank you.
And
Stay healthy.
You got it.
Yes.
We'll do it.
Great to see you. That's Cigar Cowboy. More 3-man front here on Jocks.